So good morning, everybody from Southern California. This is Dr. Anthony Chang. I have a very special guest this morning, Dr. Geraldine McGinty, who I had the pleasure of meeting at a IBM event, and I was very, very impressed with her presence as well as leadership with the American College of Radiology. So welcome, Geraldine. So you and I were chatting. You and I were chatting this morning about the amazing position that the ACR and directly helping your membership with the pandemic. So tell us about that.
Well, I think the first thing we had to do was really provide some clear leadership on what's the appropriate use of imaging around COVID-19. And that was at a time when we were really trying to process a lot of the data that was coming from China, and as well as what was happening in the US. And we've really focused on appropriate imaging, so it was important to us to make sure that we were providing that guidance, and we did. Our position was that it's really not an appropriate triage method, but then we also had to reflect parts of the country where PCR testing wasn't particularly available, and places where really they were more relying on imaging. So navigating that evolving guidance was a clear first step. And then we had to be very clear, I think, on leading around the reduction in non-urgent imaging. And this is something that I think practices and hospitals struggle with. Our patients need care, but for the safety of our patients and our teams, we had to say, we have to postpone this. Of course, now we're in the position of going in the opposite direction and providing guidance on how do we safely resume imaging services. That means everything from the safety, again, of our patients and our teams, thinking about how we clean, and really triaging which patients we bring in first. So we've tried to be a really clear voice and support our members, but also support the health systems in which they practice.
Well, when I talk to radiologists about artificial intelligence, 3 or 4 years ago, it used to be mainly about medical imaging, but I'm so impressed with your profession's focus now on using AI for workflow and how to bring about efficiency. And I loved your talk at the other meeting about bringing in some value proposition with your business background also. So can you tell us about how have you pivoted around the pandemic in those areas?
So that's a great question. And I think that, we've always said there's so much more to the medical imaging value chain than I would say just the interpretation. It's the core of what we do. But we think of imaging as starting when you, as a referring physician, think about imaging as part of the care and diagnosis of your patient. And that does not end until both you and your patient have an actionable report that you both understand. So as we think about some of the administrative complexity in our healthcare system, whether it's triaging patients, whether it's standardizing protocols, or whether it's making sure that we are issuing standardized reports that can feed into EHRs and feed into registries for quality improvement. There are many, many opportunities, I think, with artificial intelligence tools to do that in a more streamlined way. And as we and our economy and our health system looks at a very challenging financial future, that's where I think we can really streamline the costs of doing what we do without putting our patients at risk or compromising imaging quality.
Well, we're very much looking forward to having you on our faculty for the May 20th event of AI in radiology. And you and I were chatting about some really heartwarming stories about radiologists rising to the occasion in this apocalyptic world we're in. So tell us about that as part of your talk on May 20th.
So, a lot of the hype has been around the fact that AI can replace radiologists. And I think that what we've seen radiologists do during this difficult time is really step out from the shadows and become part of the clinical team. We've seen especially our trainees exhibit incredible courage in being redeployed to our hospitals, to the ICUs, to the front lines, and some of the stories they've shared about where they've been able to support their intensivist colleagues, not just with things like calling families, but also really helping to translate the imaging findings into the overall clinical picture. So I think we've certainly showed our value as physicians and part of the team. we're certainly excited, I think, about the possibilities of AI, not just for the administrative work, but clearly as to augment us as imaging diagnosticians. But it will be as part of a team, whether it's at the front lines in our intensive care or with the developer and industry communities around AI to build better tools.
Well, this pandemic has been surrealistic, but I think has really brought out some of the best in clinical medicine, and sounds like it's brought out the best in radiologists as well. So, Geraldine, thank you so much for this interview this morning, and we look forward to having you on our faculty in the upcoming May 20th AI in Radiology event. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.